surgery. She had the largest aortic aneurysm in history and survived.
Wow.
And now her body's rejecting the mesh, and so she's going back in for heart surgery in
Oh, wow.
28,
Sorry.
which means
Yikes.
I'm probably going to be flying that evening
Oh, of
to,
course. Yeah, no worries.
to
No, no
Wisconsin.
worries. That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Pronto?
Sì, sempre, sempre.
Siempre, bro. Very good. Welcome, everyone, to Mondays with Michael. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Gaeta. So glad you're with us. Really delighted to be with you today. And we have a wonderful show with two amazing individuals on the show today. We've got a double header, as they would say in baseball, or in the movie industry, a double feature. And we are really delighted for that. So, whatever platform you're on, we're streaming to about 10 different pages and platforms today. If you'd love to introduce yourself, we'd love to hear from you, how you found out about it, anything you'd like to share. And if you're in our Zoom chat or on our watch page at michaelgaeta.com/watch, you can ask questions of myself or our two fabulous guests today. And we're going to get going on that. So, if you haven't been with us before, this is an offering of the Gaeta Institute for Holistic Health Education. Our motto here, as with the Clinic for Chinese and Functional Medicine, is nature first, drugs last. Again, drugs aren't bad, they're just overused, and there's a natural solution at least 95% of the time. So that's really what we're about here at the school and in the clinic. Welcome to show number 328 for this August 10th, 2026. As we're in midsummer coming along, and we are delighted to have this coming weekend one of our amazing herbal summer schools coming up this Friday evening and Saturday. We are honored to have one of today's guests, Dustin Strong, speaking, doing a deep dive on bilberry. We have Charlotte Keichel returning. She's spoken at every herbal school for the last 7 years. I think we've done 10 over 7 years because we were so popular, we added some in the autumn and winter sometimes. And we are delighted to have, thanks to Dustin, we are delighted, really honored to have one of the top herbalists in the world, herbal educators, authors, absolutely brilliant guy, and a fellow jazz musician, Donnie Yance, joining us for the first time for Herbal Summer School. We were really honored to have him. He's an old friend of Dustin and a new friend of me. And three musicians. Dustin has an astounding voice and innately awesome, but also well trained. Anyway, we are honored to be doing that for you this Friday and Saturday, our 7th annual Herbal Summer School coming up. And just a couple of weeks later, or the next week, I guess, we have our 11th annual Love, Serve, and Succeed Colorado Retreat Intensive for practitioners and staff. We have a wonderful program coming together, and we'd be delighted to have you join us at a gorgeous, organic, regenerative farm and ranch and retreat center in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And that's a good thing. So today, show number 328, we begin with my good friend and colleague and Gaeta Institute faculty member, very popular one, by the way, Dustin Strong. And then we are honored to be having Nate Kane, a natural health enthusiast, also Army veteran, going to be talking to us about natural remedies, home preparedness, all kinds of things from his 26 years of military experience. He's going to be sharing with us some amazing insights on that, and also as a military guy, talking to us about what happened, the illegal military COVID vaccine requirements, which have been eliminated now, but were a big problem. So first we have Dustin Strong. He's going to be talking to us a little bit about a very important herb, bilberry. He is the founder and director of the Strong on Health Clinic in Mansfield, Texas, very successful nutrition practice. He's a very popular faculty member here at the school. He's a board-certified holistic nutritionist, certified applied clinical nutritionist, lifestyle health and wellness counselor, and just one of the finest people you will ever meet. You can find out all about Dustin's practice. He has a blog, he has a podcast, he has a YouTube channel. He's amazing, and he has a great voice, by the way. I think I mentioned that. And you can find out more about him and his practice at Strong on Health. What a great name. StrongOnHealth.com. So let's give a warm Mondays with Michael welcome on whatever platform you're on. Just type, if you are able to, in the comments. Warm welcome to my good friend and colleague, Dustin Strong. Dustin, thanks so much for being with us again today. You are one of the most frequent guests on the show, and we are delighted to be talking to you again today.
Well, I love being here, and I really appreciate the reminder that I should be singing more, right? It's medicine to sing.
Dude, you've got pipes. You've got serious pipes.
They've taken me around the world. Yeah. And so right now they're not my reason for traveling, but I hope I'll get back to that at some point.
Right.
I'm just going to re-pop my camera here because it goes blurry sometimes.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
So I get to talk about bilberry today, huh?
You do. So this was, I think the British Navy gave us
the Royal Air Force,
for scurvy.
Oh, yes.
The Royal Air Force figured out bilberry for night vision on night missions in I guess World War II maybe, or something like that.
It was, yeah. And I go through the whole history of that in the course on Saturday for sure. Just kind of break it down. They were doing bilberry jam.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And there's a lot of interesting connections there. And I really get deep into the research, because the research on bilberry is kind of all over the place.
Really?
And well, it's hard to find not hard to find, but it's easier to find research that's bilberry plus something else, or bilberry with that. Oh. And so really going to study the studies and kind of figure out what was really going on there, and why they were getting the changes that they were changing. And then my fascination with bilberry came a few years ago when I really started learning about it. But I think from a practical sense, there's a couple of things that I think we could all do well to help all of our patients and people with their health focus on. And one is diversity of plants, right? And fibers and things like that. And people are getting more wise to that. I think they're getting better at it. I was just on a podcast this morning where 30 plants a day, 30 unique plants actually a week is the target. And I think we've talked about that, you and I.
Wow.
But the other thing that I think we do well to ask people, and now I do start asking people this when they come in, is what's the variety of colors that you're eating? Because somebody who's obsessed with brain health and talking about brain health all the time, I think purple is the color you want to eat for your brain more than any others.
Really? Okay, so please explain. That's fascinating.
Well, I could be corrected by somebody else out there, and people make different extrapolations, red for the heart. But yeah, purple, these deep, rich purple foods have these polyphenols called anthocyanins. It's the big piece that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And so it could be blueberries, it could be blackberries, right? And I think the thing I'm looking for is if people aren't eating those, they do need to be thinking about a way to get something like bilberry into their daily life because of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that it's, just like herbs aren't really specific to one thing in the body. They work systemically. And I think when we start to understand the role of bilberry, we do think about the eyes all the time. And I'm going to cover all of that in the course this weekend, the night vision piece, the demand that we have for changing our focus all the time now. And I think if you're not aware, there's a lot of people out there restoring their vision these days, right? People even over 50.
Right.
My mom's vision keeps getting better and better every time she goes to the doctor. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is.
So this is it's a beautiful plant. I'm just going to throw an image up here.
Sure.
And it looks quite a bit like a blueberry.
Right. It does. Or a huckleberry. Yeah.
A huckleberry. It looks remarkably similar. So what's the difference between a bilberry and a blueberry?
Just small fiber changes in them. So like the bilberry, they've had a lot more specific applications in traditional healing when they would use it for vein support, eye support, Whereas like the huckleberry, and this is where we get into kind of the weeds, because there's aspects of these that the fibers make a difference, and then there's the anthocyanins that are
Right.
consistent throughout that have the same effect throughout the whole
Oh.
body.
Okay.
So if you want to kind of get into the anthocyanins specifically,
Yeah.
we think of those as the bodyguards of delicate tissue. So, and I think this is why it's really important. When we think about rebuilding the body, we think about
Right.
the capillaries, the fine tissue. That's why the eyes are so connected to bilberries, is you've got such small vasculature there. And same thing, right? Vascular to the brain.
Right.
But I mean, I'm finding research that shows improvement in kidney function. In fact, I did,
Wow.
a whole section on kidney function in that. But I'm always thinking about get the nutrients everywhere. So we want to heal the epithelium, we want to heal the vasculature, but then we want to protect it as well, which is this really cool piece. And so I'm going to kind of go through all of the different systemic applications of that. But when you're thinking about getting things to anything in the body, this is a major piece, because if you just try to like focus on healing your kidneys, but you can't get the circulation to do that,
Right.
you're going to get mixed results. And same thing for any other organ system. The brain is a huge piece of that. So,
well, yeah, our mutual teacher, Carrie Bone, said in a seminar that it was interesting. He said this isn't one of the most important. It's not just one of the most important herbs for the eyes, but he said it's one of the most important herbs for the entire 100,000 miles of vasculature in the whole body.
Exactly.
So he considers this a key vascular herb, which would explain the kidney thing, because the kidneys are so vascular, and all the 5 to 7 quarts of blood flowing through the kidneys every 20 minutes.
Right.
That's pretty quick. And so you've got to have pretty awesome blood vessels for that to happen. So is that the bilberry anthocyanidin purple stuff connection? Is that it just has some benefit to the vasculature?
Definitely, especially the microvascular piece, and collagen and connective tissue as well.
Okay.
So yeah, all of that is going to be a big connector. So I've started as a muscle tester. I have muscle tested this against kidneys quite a bit, and I actually find it show up regularly.
Really?
People now. Yeah.
As a kidney formula.
As a kidney formula.
Wow. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, you don't really think about it like that. That's what's kind of cool. And I think you haven't, right?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah. I think the other piece that there's a huge opportunity, and of course, kidneys are a huge opportunity in every American, right? And this is, we have socialized medicine for kidneys in this country, for goodness sake. But is the lymphatic connection. And that's the part I'm going to be really excited to go kind of deeper into in the course.
Did not know that.
Huge missed opportunity in health is people like you and I are right now, we're sitting down.
Right.
I often do these standing up, but I just did one standing up. But the more we're not moving our lymph, the more we need things to help with the lymphatic system. And I think there's a major connection there that people will find really exciting in the course, and encourage them to consider for those people who aren't getting enough movement. And that's always a big question, right? Well, what can I do for my lymphatic? You can get lymphatic massage. You can jump up and down, you can, do heel drops. But they say, what can we do from an herbal or a nutrition standpoint to help with that? And I think,
wait a minute, this is a lymphatic herb?
I would say, yes, I would qualify.
Wow. I never thought about that. Wow. I usually think of echinacea and sarsaparilla and, burdock, some of these drainage herbs. I never thought of bilberry.
Well, I'll present the data on the weekend, and you can tell me whether or not you think it actually qualifies.
I'm sure it is,
because there's some very interesting data, and it makes sense too, right? Because we're trying to move all of that around. We got to have all of that structure protected and healed and taken care of. And I think honestly, I'm only scratching the surface on this. And one of the questions comes from.
Well, it's a pretty big scratch. I mean,
yeah,
this isn't like WebMD on bilberry. I mean, this would be
right. That's true. But when you start thinking about the systemic applications, right, you could basically make an argument for any condition because of the delivery of the nutrients from a nutritionist standpoint, obviously, of what it can do.
So just tell us maybe one clinical story from your practice with bilberry.
Well, okay. Well, so, I do a lot of coronary artery calcium scores, right?
That's
and
right.
been doing some pre and posts, and most of the time we get some really great improvements with the protocols that we've been doing. But I have one case that was really not, the numbers really moved in the wrong direction. Not the wrong direction. One of the valves went really well, but the others kind of creeped up still. So we didn't really get the same dramatic change with that protocol. And that's interesting how that works. You know, you get one protocol and it works 80% of the time, and then there's 20% of the time it's not quite nailing it. So for me and this individual, it was adding in bilberry was the biggest major change that we did, because we started to get some pill fatigue. And after some time, we kind of be able to titrate down the baseline protocol and titrate up the bilberry, and we finally saw the changes that we're looking for with this person. So that was really a cool, dramatic story for me specifically.
Wow. That's great. Huh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm going to be start using bilberry. Well, I'm also going to be taking copious notes this weekend. And so Dustin is part of our faculty for Herbal Summer School. I'm going to give you folks the link in the Zoom chat and also on our watch page. And this is coming up this weekend. You'll get a discount, MWM10, for attending the podcast. And so here's, this starts Friday, goes into Saturday. Dustin is going to teach you more than I think almost anybody knows in the world on bilberry. You'll be a bilberry expert. Well, because, even herbalists will think of, oh, that's the eye herb. And you're going to go way beyond that.
Right.
And so it's this Saturday, 1 to 3 Mountain, which is 3:30 to 5 Eastern. Dustin's going to be speaking on bilberry, and you'll see here a little bit about Dustin and also this topic. So what are folks going to learn on Saturday from you, Dustin?
All of it. I mean, the whole history of it, like you said, from the Royal Air Force to how it started to be studied. And then we're going to study the studies, like I always think we should.
Yes.
Because there's when we really understand the limitations in certain studies and why they didn't get the results they're looking at, I think it's always interesting for me. We're going to talk about the importance of the color of food and how there should definitely be a purple in your daily, whether it is just a couple of blueberries or a blackberry or anything purple. And if you're not eating it, then Bilberry Forte from MediHerb is my top choice for that, because I've luckily had enough clinical experience now to see that is a change agent that will bring results for individuals, not just with their eyes, though. Yeah, with like I said, the whole body.
Right, it's vascular, but also you said something about collagen formation, tissue repair. I guess that's part of the vascular effect.
Yeah, and remember protection, right? We can rebuild it, but we want to protect it once it's rebuilt. So that's an interesting thing about the anthocyanins. So we're not constantly in a state of, oh my gosh, I got to constantly rebuild. We can build what we have, and then we can have a level of protection that helps to slow down the degradation of all the tissue that we're trying to.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Great. Any final thoughts to feel complete for today, Dustin?
Oh man, just that I know that we all, when we get excited about a new thing, it tends to get to the point where we get a little overwhelmed, right? Our personal protocols. And that's always my mission, is try to figure out, where do I mix this in? Do I mix this in with my heart? Do I mix it in with my brain? Where does it go and when does it go? And that's one of the questions I really am hoping we can all come to a conclusion on this weekend after the course.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And folks, Dustin's going to be taking your questions as well. He's going to somehow find some time amidst his deep presentation to answer your questions. So bring your bilberry related questions and herbal related questions to his presentation this Saturday. Yeah. Dustin, my friend, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. It's good to see you. I'll see you all this weekend. Take care.
Great to see you. Yeah, we'll see you this weekend. Thanks. Thank you again. All right, wonderful. Well, I learned something today, and I'm going to learn a lot more along with you this Saturday from Dustin on this important herb. We're also going to be hearing from my good friend Charlotte Keikel, who is basically, we do all of these together, and she's going to be talking about Eat Your Medicine, herbal support for common digestive complaints. And then we're going to be hearing about the brain with Donnie Yance, one of the top herbal educators and authors in the world. He's going to be speaking, leading off this Saturday, noon Eastern Time, on units of medicine and neurological and brain health. So that's going to be a remarkable presentation. And so please join us. Use your discount code MWM for Mondays with Michael, 10, 10. And please join us this weekend. So it's going to be Friday and Saturday. So that brings us to our second guest of today. Again, we have a double feature, double header today, which is unusual for us, but it worked out great. And we are just honored to have a wonderful man join us. I had the honor of appearing on his show recently. And this is Mr. Nate Kane. Nate is a military veteran. Thank you for your service. And he was working, he's a U.S. Army veteran, and then continued to work in 3 branches of the military after he completed his service in the Army. He continued to work with the Army and the Navy and the Marines. After that, he is a cybersecurity expert. He is an FBI whistleblower, which is maybe how you know him. And he is host of a very popular show called Unleashed on America Out Loud. Today, we're going to be talking about illegal vaccine coercion in the military and what happened there, and the kind of recent developments on that. We're also going to be discussing subjects that he and I are mutually very interested in, of natural health and home remedies, the importance of informed consent, a topic we've talked about a lot here over the last 7 years of the show, and also home remedies and home preparedness. You could find him on X at x.com/Cain, CAIN_Nate, and MCPOTA, MCPOTA, I'll have to explain where that came from. That's cool. Substack name, .substack.com. Please, let's give a warm Mondays with Michael welcome on whatever platform you're viewing us on live. You could type in on the comments or chat there. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Nate Kane. Nate, my friend, so good to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Good to see you too, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, so you've had quite a journey. If for folks who are a little bit less familiar with you and your work, something moved you. I'd love to hear about that, to join the Army. And again, thank you for your service. And then to continue working with the military for decades after that, as a civil servant, I think might be the correct term. I'm not sure.
Yes.
And then you became a cybersecurity expert, which I think is a very timely thing to know something about these days with AI, and love your comments on that at some point. And just so much, this digital transformation has
Absolutely.
also created digital challenges.
Yeah.
And then you've also had a lifelong interest in natural health. So if you just, for our listeners who are less familiar with you, just
Sure.
give us a little bit of your story and how you came to be doing the work you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into cybersecurity. It starting off in the Army. Actually, it was before they even had the word cybersecurity. Back then, they called it information assurance. And
Wow.
that's how I got into this. I've been doing this for about 30 years.
Wow.
And got started in the U.S. Army, and it was a great option for me. I was going to college and had one kid and one on the way, and was piling up debt, trying to figure out how I was going to be able to get through school. And they offered to train me and give me that experience. And so I went in and served my time, got out, and went back to work as a contractor for a while with DISA, and then eventually it got hired as a Navy civilian with the U.S. Navy.
What's DISA?
DISA is a Defense Information Systems Agency. So they basically
that's a thing?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, they
okay.
handle all of the network and network communications and all of that between the different agencies, and for agencies that don't have their own IT. But they operate at that time they were operating out of Arlington, Virginia was their headquarters, and so I was working there. But yeah, I had a
please continue. I'll be right back.
Sure. So I've had a great career there. You asked about how I got into health and alternative health, And that actually started when I was a youngster. I was probably, I think, maybe 12 years old, and I found a book that was one of my grandfather's, who he passed away before I was born. But I found this book at my grandmother's house, and I was interested in it. And it was a list of all of these different herbs and their use in the treatments of various ailments. Now, this book was written in 1940 something, so it was before, the big change of all
Which
of
book
the.
was that, neat?
I want to say something about Eden. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was,
Oh, right, right.
yeah, it was an older book, and it was written in like the 40s, and it was fascinating. So it had all of this, detailed, pictures
Oh,
of
Herbs
plants.
of Eden.
Yes,
Herbs of
yes,
Eden.
I think so. And really
back
a
to
neat
Eden.
book, and it kind of got me started and interested in the idea of herbal, medications, because I had no idea growing up. All I knew is a doctor prescribes something, you go and you take it. And I didn't realize that all of these drugs, for the most part,
Right.
originally they find some, some plant that has efficacy, and then they
Right.
synthesize it so that they can, then,
Patent it,
sell
yeah.
it, patent it, and sell it as a drug. And so,
Right.
I ended up finding an interest in that, and that's how I got into that. But
Okay.
what most people, you asked about where MC Pota came from. So
Yeah.
there's a funny story about that, and you'll have to forgive my language for those that might be offended by it. But the MC Pota was the code name that was given to me when I became an
Oh.
FBI whistleblower, and my lawyer, who was a former he was a naturalized citizen that came from Cuba, and he
Right.
saw his father working in a Cuban work camp.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely hated communists, and so
course.
when he was coming up with a code name for me, he chose MC Pota, unbeknownst to me. And so I get this paper, and it talks about, I will, from this point forward, be called MC Pota in any communications. And I go, MC Pota, you couldn't pick something cooler than that, like, 008 or something.
Yeah, right,
like,
right.
what does MC Pota stand for? And he goes, oh, you'll love it. And I go, well, what is it? He says, making communists pay out the ass.
Oh, I like that.
When I heard that, I was like, all right, I love that. That is for
Wow.
now
Oh,
on. That is
man.
going to be,
That's
my call
great.
sign. So that is how MC
That's
Pota came
awesome.
about. But interestingly, with my whistleblowing, that was really about the government's cover up of
Right.
criminal activity that was going on. Everybody's probably familiar with Uranium One and the Hillary Clinton pay to play allegations, that were made about when she was Secretary of State. The FBI
Right.
was investigating those things, and they had 3 separate field offices doing investigations.
So wait a minute, hold on. What, for folks who are not familiar, what is Uranium One, and
So
what was the nature
Sure.
of the scandal?
So Uranium One was a Canadian mining company that processed about 40% of the U.S. uranium supply.
Whoa.
And they were working, they basically did, they processed all of our uranium. All of that
Oh.
was, supposed to stay here. So anything that has to do with national security, in order
Right.
for a foreign investment in it, it has to go through something called the CFIUS Committee, which is the
Okay.
Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. Now,
So wait a minute, Nate. So where does the uranium come from?
it comes from the U.S.
And then
So-
it goes to Canada to be refined or processed, kind of like
Yes.
oil.
Yes.
Oh.
So
What do
there-
they have
there's-
to? So it comes out of the ground, and
Yes.
then what happens?
Well, there's all kinds of byproducts and things like that. It has to be purified and then, turned into, a grade of material that can be used in either nuclear weapons or in power plants. And so there's a whole lot of different things that they do with it. There's byproducts like yellow cake and things like that also have to be dealt with and processed. But I'm not an expert by any means.
Right, but just the
on
general
what that-
idea is
yeah,
we
what that
mine it
process is,
here, it goes to Canada, and they do
Yeah.
something with it.
Yeah, and the thing is that the United States had this contract that was going on with Uranium One, and a Russian energy company called Rosatom was interested in buying this company.
Oh,
And of course, that's a problem because Russia's an adversary. And
right,
but
right.
Secretary Clinton at the time she was in charge of the CFIUS committee. She sat on that committee and had a very prominent role.
And
what
that
was
committee has to approve stuff
any
that
foreign
happens.
investment,
Oh,
any foreign
okay.
investment in anything that has national security implications.
Including
So
uranium.
that's right. So like missile technology, AI would certainly, fall under that.
Hmm.
Uranium, anything having to do with, our energy supplies,
Right.
anything that where we would be concerned about technology or about an important natural resource falling into the hands of, a foreign adversary. So
Okay.
the bottom line is that a deal was made to go ahead and sell or allowed the sale of uranium one to this Russian energy company. But at the time, the FBI already had investigated and already had information that that company and those tied to it, of Rosatom, was already involved in a bribery and kickback scheme involving, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in bribes and kickbacks and all of that in order to infiltrate our uranium supply chain. And
Oh.
so this was all being investigated. This is all well known now. And at the time, they were investigating, and I had heard a rumor in my office that they were planning on basically shutting down the investigations, making them go away for
Wow.
political reasons.
And
so
what office were you in at this point?
I worked down in Washington, D.C. in their information assurance office near the Capitol. It's in a non-disclosed location, but
Right.
I was working.
But you were in the DC area.
Yes.
And when was this, Nate?
This would have been 2016 to 2018,
Oh,
I think. Yeah.
so that's reasonably. This isn't like ancient history. This is pretty.
No.
And then, so anyway, so let me see if I understand, because this is not my area of expertise. Like,
Sure.
You've been immersed in this for decades.
Yeah.
But so Uranium One is this processing company for uranium in Canada that processed 40% of American uranium to
Yeah.
be used in stuff, whatever.
Yep.
And then there were American government officials, I guess, elected
Mhm.
officials, appointed,
Appointed.
whatever.
The CFIUS committee, Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State has a role on that committee as the chair of that committee. And so, very prominent role. But the bottom line is there were, she was being investigated for bribery, for fraud, it was money laundering, public corruption, securities and exchange fraud, and terrorism financing.
Whoa.
And so these were these were things that basically they were looking at money trails. They had all kinds of things that they were looking at. This evidence came, basically I got exposed to this evidence and I sat on it because I thought, I figured they had case numbers on this. They were doing their job. So I thought the rumors were not true. But then you'll remember when Director Comey went before the media, held a press conference on her email server, which that's a whole nother scandal.
That's a whole other scandal.
But on that, he was talking about all the different classified information that was found on her private email server that was in her basement, in her home in Chappaquiddick. And I ended up, watching this in the office there. It was on the screen and I'm watching it. And he goes down this list and I'm thinking the next words out of his mouth are going to be, and so today we're announcing that we're indicting Hillary Clinton. But instead, he said, but no reasonable prosecutor would ever bring a case against somebody for this. And I thought to myself, wow, that's a bold statement, because we had just prosecuted a young man who simply took a picture of his, bunk on a submarine, which didn't have anything classified in it, but it was it was a violation of policy. And he was put in prison for something like 5 months. And I'm thinking, yeah, she had top secret and above top secret documents on this email server. And he mentioned, in fact, that there were 7 email chains that included special access programs, which you can't have that without knowingly taking them out of a SCIF. So I've been around classified information my entire career.
What's a SCIF?
A SCIF is a secured compartmentalized information facility. It's basically no windows, no doors, a man trap where you go in, you have to remove all your electronics. There's cameras, everything, the door seals behind you, and then you get let in. It's a very, very secure place. It's the only place where top secret information or special access program information can be viewed and never
can't be snooped on or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I heard
Oh,
that,
wait a minute. So this is like top secret info that had to be taken out of one of these super secure meetings, I guess,
that's
and
right.
put on like Gmail.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
other words, like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
public. Wow.
So when they said that they were not going to prosecute her for that, that's when I knew, okay, the rumors are true. They're going to cover this up,
Oh.
and sure enough, they did.
Hmm.
And that came out in I think on page 78, I believe, of John Durham's report
Hmm.
when he investigated. It basically covered the stuff that I carried out of the FBI, but I
Wow.
basically carried, um, you know, 100 and some odd pages of classified documents out of the FBI. I had a legal responsibility and a right to do so, and
Right.
I didn't take them to the press. I
Right.
took them to the Inspector General of the DOJ, and I was given protection under the Intelligence Community Whistleblower Protection Act.
Wow.
And it's a very long story, but I'm giving you the short details
Right.
of
Oh,
it.
sure. Sure.
But about 4 months after I completed this disclosure legally, I was raided by the FBI
What?
and had massive surveillance and all kinds of illegal things that were being done to me and to my family.
Whoa.
And ultimately, my name leaked to the press. I had
Hmm.
attempts on my life and all kinds of things that
Oh,
happened.
no.
So
Did you have to use your military training to protect yourself or your family?
I had to actually contact, my military training, consisted of primarily, technical, I had, of course,
Oh, okay.
basic training, but I actually had to hire, special forces guys to come to my house
Whoa.
and help me secure my property, help me, figure out how to survive this because I had two attempts on me with, with some type of poison, one neurological, one was some sort of, cardiac type,
What?
poison. I had somebody loosen the lug nuts on my vehicle right before I went on a
What?
very long trip, which meant somebody was surveilling and tapping my phone lines because that's the only way they would have known that the next
Oh,
day I was leaving on a trip and, they knew what route I would be on and everything. But it was just
wow.
insane, the kinds of things that we went through.
Hmm.
But it's not surprising because the information that I had, and after the FBI raided me, I didn't have anything. They took it. I gave them the thumb drive. I
Right.
told them the password for it. I didn't
Right.
want that thing anywhere near me, but I was authorized to maintain it by the IG in
Oh,
case the intelligence committees, both the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence or the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, failed to do anything about it. I had
oh.
the right to take it to another committee. So, this
Whoa.
was the kind of thing that I was dealing with.
That's
And
messed up.
yeah, it was pretty scary times.
I can imagine. And when was this that this all went down?
That happened in 2018.
Gee, so the FBI,
So,
so somebody tried to kill you a number of
yeah,
times in 2018.
yes. Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah. And
this is,
then,
I'm sorry, I just want to,
sure.
this is the Durham report,
Yeah,
page 78. Is that right?
I believe
Uh,
so.
Anyway, this is in the chat for
Yeah, right
folks.
down there, that section B.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he's talking about there are the exact documents that I brought out of the FBI into the IG's office. There was
Whoa.
an intelligence report that was, so this is the thing. So when I initially brought this information to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence,
Right.
I spoke to Devin Nunez's senior staffer,
Right.
George Pappas, and
Sure.
he asked me to go back in and find this intelligence report, which they had that indicated that what the FBI knew and when they knew it.
Right.
And so that was the other thing too, is that the former FBI director at the time of the Uranium One thing was
Right.
Robert Mueller, and
Oh.
he had a non-voting, but he had a fiduciary duty to the CFIUS committee to notify them of anything that was going on. So he was involved in the cover-up.
Oh.
Hillary Clinton, of course, involved in the criminal activity, but not necessarily cover-up.
Right.
But you had the director of the FBI, Comey, was
Hmm.
involved. You had Andrew McCabe involved, and Rod Rosenstein, who was the deputy attorney general at the time. He was involved because he was actually the AUSA that was conducting the investigation into
Oh.
10X, which carried. They were the ones where that Rosatom bribery kickback scheme was going on, and they had the
Okay.
information on that and did nothing about it. Like for
Oh.
years they just ignored it. And it wasn't until this information came out and I started talking publicly, then all of a
Right.
sudden they finally brought charges against the guy that was involved in the bribery kickbacks.
Wow.
So yeah, it opened up a whole can of worms, and there were people who, probably knew they were in some serious trouble. And so, when you think about like what happened to President Trump
Right.
with the whole Trump-Russia collusion thing, I
Right.
am convinced that what that had more to do with than anything else is it had to do with they knew that they had screwed up because what was apparent to me was that they were they were getting rid of the evidence and shutting down the investigations because they believed Hillary Clinton was going to be the president, and they were afraid of reprisal. When she didn't become president, now they had a problem because all this evidence, had basically been shut down, and the case had been closed, and there was no justification for it. And
Yeah.
so at that point, they all knew the gig was up, and the Uranium One stuff in particular was going to come out. And so they had to make this go away. And the best way they could do that was to keep Trump out of the FBI. And so they opened up an investigation of him. They started the fake, the special counsel going after him. and
Yeah, it
all
was
of that
completely fabricated.
for the, basically the entirety of his presidential term. They spied on him and kept him away from the FBI. And it was all because they wanted to, prevent their own crimes from being
Wow.
brought out.
Well, I
So-
have to show you something. You'll enjoy this.
Sure.
So I do a periodically just look around for myself online, and I found this playing card. This was a Russiagate playing card, and it had
wow.
an old picture of me on it, Michael Gaeta, FBI agent. And I'm like, what? This is like a joke, right? And it turns out Christopher Steele, who was the British agent who
Yeah.
fabricated the Steele dossier, his handler at the FBI had my name.
Oh, wow.
So somebody who just made a business, and it says here, Michael Gaeta, FBI agent. I don't know if you can see it there. FBI agent. So somebody got the wrong Michael Gaeta. Former FBI handler Christopher Steele. He was sent to London by Victoria Nuland in the State Department to meet with Steele in London to gather the first parts of the Steele dossier.
Oh,
so
wow.
so somebody, who was just selling playing cards on Russiagate, thought, he just looked online for photos of Michael Gaeta, assumed it was the FBI agent. And
Oh
not
my
me.
gosh. That's
So
funny.
I immediately bought one of these as a memento of how I was not quite part of Russiagate.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a very scary period of time in my life.
Yeah.
Eventually.
So what happened? I mean, all this came out.
Well, 5 years, went by, and eventually they gave me my stuff back because, so they raided my house, kept everything, took all of my electronics, outed me, by that time I was working for the VA. I ended up losing my job. I had to start over again. Was never charged, and it was, obviously never, indicted or anything.
Right.
I didn't commit any crime, but
Right.
they made it a point to make my life miserable,
Oh,
and
no.
and to try to damage my reputation. And ultimately what ended up happening was when I got tired of the harassment, and I went to the Senate Judiciary, to former Senator Lindsey Graham, God rest his soul, he was the chair of the Judiciary at the time. And so I went to him, talked with his lead investigative counsel,
Right.
and 2 weeks later, the FBI agent who had been involved in basically going after a witch hunt on me, was running his own op, ended up no longer an FBI agent.
Oh,
But it took 5 years for me to get anything back.
wow.
And it was it did a lot of damage, to my family and to me,
Of course.
and my
of course.
career. And but I would do it again, because at the end of the day, I believe God put me in that position at that time to do the right thing. And hopefully, I passed the test, and that's what matters.
sure did.
Was there justice? No, but in the end, I think we'll all see justice.
Yeah, I guess that so none of the folks it sounds like and the Clinton Foundation was involved in this as part of
Yeah.
like who was getting kickbacks and they were famous for pay to play and sell influence peddling and all of this.
Yeah,
Well,
that was the allegation. And when you look at like what happened, her husband was given a very lucrative speaking gig,
Oh.
millions of dollars paid to speak at in Moscow,
Hmm.
right like within weeks of of that deal happened.
Oh, wow. So there was
And that
no
was just the tip of the iceberg. There was so much more in the documents that I turned over. There
wow.
was a whole host of allegations of money laundering.
Right. So there was no indictments, prosecution, any of the folks who were involved in the illegal activity?
Never.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah.
that is what brought me into the public spectacle, because prior to that, with my clearance and my background, I had no social media. I had really limited,
Oh,
public anything,
right.
and
You
that
couldn't.
kind of forced me into the light. I had no choice but to go public with
Oh,
everything.
okay.
And then I got invited by the White House to to get involved in election integrity work after the 2020 election,
Right.
and so my name started moving around the White House circles and that sort of thing,
Right.
and then I got involved through some of my connections through that, with my military background. When the COVID thing came down,
Right.
I ended up being one of the signers on the original declaration for accountability over the misuse and illegal, coercion of this,
Right.
experimental vaccine
Experimental.
being
Yeah.
forced on military soldiers. And
Hmm.
so, I became, very involved in that
Hmm.
movement,
Hmm.
to bring justice in that area, because, and it didn't just affect, military people. I mean, I worked at the time, this is after my whistleblowing, but I had gone back to work for the Navy, and I was a Navy contractor, and I got told, you get vaccinated or you can't work.
Oh,
And so I said, all right, well, I'm quitting. I'm not going to allow you to force me
right.
into this. This is illegal. And I knew, because when I was in the Army, I was forced into taking all 8 booster shots of the anthrax vaccine,
Oh,
which was an
wow.
experimental vaccine. It
Right.
was experimental at least in its use, right? So
Right.
it was used by people in like I think like the tanning industry or something like that,
Right.
for the type of anthrax that people get with their skin, but it had
Hmm.
never been tested or even verified that it was effective
Right.
for use for the inhalation type of respiratory anthrax. And yet
Oh.
they gave this to all of us, and there have been multiple cases where people who have gone before different had many tests and stuff like that done. People have heard of the Gulf War syndrome, and there are
Yeah.
many people who believe that the Gulf War syndrome was tied to maybe some bad vaccine batches
Oh.
that had been used. And
Right.
there were certainly all kinds of inflammation related things that happened as a result. And even myself, I mean, I reported massive inflammation that I had after those vaccine shots, that were localized to, I had a knot in my arm that lasted for about 6 months. And I'm like, hey, this ain't right. This is not
Wow.
healthy. But I also, developed, inflammatory conditions, which I still deal with today. Things like, arthritis
Oh.
and bursitis in particular, which I had never had before. And bursitis,
Wow.
was very painful.
Right.
So
Oh,
there's a lot of interest in this kind of thing. But at that time, the military changed their rules. They said, you know what, we're never allowing this again. And here's the rules.
Wait, what happened?
So they changed the rules and basically wrote into, I want to say it was Army Regulation 50, basically new guidance that said, here's the rules when it comes to vaccines moving forward.
And when was this?
This would have been, it was right after, it was somewhere around, I think 2000. Well, I got out in 2000. They were still doing the vaccine. I think they ended it on 2003, I think, for the anthrax vaccine. But as a result of that, in all of the numerous complaints, they decided that they would number one, if somebody had already been exposed to a virus and had recovered, they would not be vaccinated. So that was one of the things. Another thing was that they could not give an experimental vaccine or enact an emergency use authorization without the president signing off on it, and that was done. That was done with the military by the Secretary of Defense. He's not the president, but he violated the law, and there was a whole lot of other things that happened. It turns out,
you mean Lloyd Austin?
yes, and it turns out that the emergency use authorization that was signed to effect did not cover the actual vaccine that was given to our soldiers, which was like an earlier version.
Right.
So there was a whole lot of things that happened, and nobody went to jail for this. Nobody. But more important than anything is that you think about like the Constitution, and it's pretty dang clear that that we're to be free from any intrusion by the government into our personal effects and even in our own bodies, and yet they somehow had a right to stick us with a needle and put something in us. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, we reported on that here extensively in 2020, 2021, especially 21, that it's in federal code.
That's right.
I have to look up the chapter and verse, but it's in federal code that no experimental intervention can be mandated.
That's right.
And that's just sort of a blanket thing. I don't know if there's a military exception.
There is.
Order, you have to follow orders.
Yeah.
But
well,
at least
the military
public sphere.
had the same thing. So that really boiled down to a lack of informed consent. We have to be anybody in the military. Just because you join the military does not mean that you give up your constitutional rights.
So
sure.
Wait a minute. So that means that federal code where nothing experimental can be mandated also applied to the military?
Yes, it did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have to have the only way they can get around that would be an emergency use authorization, and it has to be signed by the President of the United States, the Commander in Chief. That never happened.
Wow.
So, and this is one of the reasons why, under the current administration, they have reversed everything, and now
so give us the update on that. Like, what got reversed?
So they reversed all the people that got kicked out, and there was several thousand soldiers. Many of them had served for 10, 15 years, some of them near 20, and they were kicked out because they refused to take it. The other thing too that the law requires under the military regulation code was an accommodation for religious exemption.
Really?
And no accommodations were they were basically ignored.
Wow.
The accommodations are there. I actually helped write my son, who was in the military at the time. I helped him write an accommodation letter. Ultimately, they just basically ignored it, and they didn't process him out. So he's still in, but he never took the vaccine. And I think they realized that they had a problem. And so, but I basically wrote it from the standpoint of, look, as a Christian who believes in end time prophecy, it talks about that at some point in time in the future, that the government will compel people to take a mark, or you will not be able to work or be able to buy or sell food, or anything like that. And I said, while I don't necessarily think that this is that, it is an issue of, giving over will, and into coercion. And there are laws against coercion. And when they said, you will do this, or you will be fired, or you will be, and in their case, they didn't just say fired. They said, you'll do this, or you will be, basically court-martialed.
Really?
And a court-martial is like a felony.
Wow.
So they basically, they put people, and that's what they did to me, by the way, with the anthrax shot. They told me, because I remember when I went there and they told me I needed to take the shot. I said, I don't want to do this. I said, there's no known cases of anthrax, biological weapons by our enemies up north, because I was in Korea at the time. They were concerned about this in Saudi Arabia or Iraq. And I said, I'd rather take my chances. I don't want something like this experimental. And they told me, they said, you will submit to this, or you will get you will end up getting court-martialed. So
Whoa.
what choice did I have?
Wow.
So yeah, I took it a little personal when I saw them doing this again.
Oh, I would think
to
so.
to our soldiers, and one of those soldiers being my son, of course.
Oh, wow. And he's not no longer in the military.
No, he still is. He's still in.
Oh, he
Yeah.
still is. Oh,
Yeah, he's
okay.
over in Korea right now.
Oh, wow.
Ironically, not too far from where I was stationed when I
Really?
was there. Yeah.
Wow, I'm sure he's feeling pretty good about that. My dad was here,
Yep.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. So just want to make sure I got this right. So the mandate has been eliminated for the military. They've at least made it possible for
Yeah.
folks
They've,
who were
they've made it
fired.
possible for people who were kicked out to come back and with back pay. But
Okay.
I've spoken to some of my friends that were chaptered out, and have tried to go through that process of getting put back in. The problem is a lot of the same people who were involved in kicking them out are still
Right.
there.
Oh,
So that makes it really, really difficult for somebody to come back and have to basically deal with that kind of an issue. So it's
Nate,
not
is
as it's not a
this
simple
the
thing.
same issue? So it's not as easy as it sounds to get
Yeah.
back in and get your back pay. Is this the same issue? I mean, you had direct experience with DOJ, with FBI, the so-called deep state, these unelected bureaucrats
Yeah.
who don't really care who the elected officials are, president or whatever it is. They just do their thing. Is that sounds like that's still kind of an issue?
It is. It is. We can't forget to within the when Hillary Clinton's email server was being investigated,
Right.
they were investigating people close to her, and there was a 302. You can go and look it up. It's in the FBI vault, and I can't remember who it was that was interviewed at the time, but they were being interviewed and they were discussing with the FBI the shadow government. And that was the first time that that term ever really kind of hit the public. And the idea behind it was that there were very powerful people on the 7th floor, and that's basically 7th floor of the FBI building and other places where
The Hoover,
the senior,
building.
the senior staff are, that were basically really running things in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And that is true. That has been the way it has always been, because the thing is that while the president may appoint a secretary or they might appoint, a senior level person, there are all of these SESs, senior executive service, that may be deputies that don't get removed in between administrations. And they oftentimes outlive or survive presidencies, but they have their own agenda, and they often have the opportunity to act with impunity and pretty much do whatever they think that they should be doing. And these are unelected people, mind you,
including going after you.
Yeah. And also thwarting the agenda of the duly elected president of the United States.
So has there been any progress on that, where some of these folks have been removed or?
Yeah, I think the FBI, Kash Patel made it clear that was one of his, agenda items, was to go in. And I think Dan Bongino, when he was brought in, I think that was part of his job, was going through and finding some of these guys. And you're still going to have bad apples that are, in the average rank and file, just like you have good guys that are in the rank and file.
Right.
To be able to eliminate everybody, but at least within the leadership, I think they've cleared out a lot of these, guys that had hidden agendas. That doesn't mean that I agree with everybody that's there. I mean, there's always going to be disagreements on things, but at the end of the day, everybody works in the executive. Their job is to do what the president says, and to basically pursue his. He's the one that sets the mission. He's the one that we all elected, not any of those guys.
Right. So are you hopeful that, that there'll be more, kind of clearing of the corrupt deep state shadow government actors who are in infiltrating the government?
I think a lot of these guys have been cleared out. My concern is that if there is nobody who gets prosecuted for criminal activity. I think of Samantha Powers as a big example, in my opinion. She's somebody who was directly involved in unmasking people and abusing FISA and the Fourth Amendment on multiple American citizens tied to, you know, the Trump administration when he was running for office.
Oh,
That, you know, how she, you know, can get away with that and not go to jail.
Right.
How, you know, how these people who, regardless of what, like, I think about like, you know, Hillary Clinton, what she did. Do I believe she's guilty? Yes. But
Sure.
until a court of law, you know, decides that,
Right.
you know, that's everybody deserves their day in court. But the people who obstructed justice within the
Right.
Department of Justice, the people who violated the public trust, they should be prosecuted for obstruction of justice. And until there's that, then this problem is going to continue to show up. And the same thing with those, you know, Fauci and others, you know, who you know, violated the public trust,
Right.
who committed crimes, who lied to, you know, the American people, who lied, you know, on the stand before Congress. When these people, you know, if they don't ever see justice, then how can we ever expect, you know,
Yeah.
stuff to stop? There's no accountability.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's a
So-
huge concern.
Yeah.
And
So
I share that.
Yeah, so I won't trust. I refuse to have any trust, or quite honestly, or even hope for the system, you know, to self-correct. I think it has to be corrected through accountability. And so I think that's the single greatest thing that's missing from government today is accountability.
I agree, and I think a lot of us who, you know, voted for the president are, you know, a little disappointed that, you know,
Sure.
we have clear evidence of wrongdoing. And as he said, you know, in his campaign, it's not retribution, it's accountability. It's if you broke the law, you know, I mean, it's not about revenge
That's
or
right.
retribution, even though they went after him relentlessly, illegally, you know, for a long time, including the Russia collusion hoax, which is Hillary and Obama, perhaps, and Comey and the rest of them.
Yeah.
That there's just, it's just, if you broke the law, you're accountable. But,
Yeah.
you know, there hasn't been a lot of that. I mean, there's lots of evidence.
Well, it's interesting because they say, right, that, you know, officers of a corporation, right, are supposed to be held accountable for crimes that happen, you know, in that corporation, right? They
Right.
say that those who are basically, you know, in leadership positions or positions of power within government are the ones who are supposed to be being held accountable to a higher standard.
Right.
And
right.
yet it seems that those who are at the highest levels of whether it's a corporation or within the government
Right.
seem to never pay.
Mm.
You know,
Right.
it's always some low level guy, you know, who
Oh.
ends up going to prison, and you know, and those that you know, have the means of being able to you know, bribe the right officials, or you know, or they have, you know, unlimited amount of wealth to be able to, you know, hire lawyers and you know, get
Right.
out of jail. It's unfortunate, but that's the system that we live in. And
Yeah.
so I don't have a whole lot of hope. I have a hope that for at least a time, there will be some course correction.
Sure.
But I think we always have to stay on the alert, and I think we will always
Right.
need watchdogs. We will always need whistleblowers because of that.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm surprised Snowden is still in exile. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that was an obvious case, just like yourself.
There was talk, you know, I mean, look, I'll be honest, I was one of the biggest critics of Snowden, you know, after he went forward, not in what he said, but how he did. Like the fact that he
Oh.
went overseas, the fact that he went to Hong Kong,
Right.
that he went public and didn't, you know, take it through proper channels. All
Right.
of those things I felt like, you know, put our intelligence community at risk. But
Okay.
at the same time, now in retrospect, you know, thank God he did what he did, because otherwise we would never know about
Right.
the kinds of abuses
The
that were going
surveillance.
on, and unfortunately that are still going on. The fact
Right.
is that system that Snowden, you know, basically talked about
Right.
still exists.
Hmm.
We're still collecting data on every single one of us,
Hmm.
every single one, and that data is quote unquote masked until they, you know, they use a FISA or a 702 warrant, or actually it's warrantless. It's not even a warrant. It's a warrantless search. But there have been hundreds of thousands of illegal, and this is confirmed by federal judges, illegal uses of Section 702 to spy on American citizens.
Hmm.
Many of them were there on January 6th. And there were many there, honestly, up in, at Black Lives Matter rallies as well that were spied on simply because the government had access to a tool that they shouldn't have been using, but were using it to spy on American citizens. That's a problem.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So from a privacy security perspective, I know it's your wheelhouse, that
Sure.
you're not seeing a lot of evidence that this is going to change.
No.
Oh,
I don't think it will. And I think that the difficulty is now we've let in so many people into our country that, honestly probably shouldn't be here.
Right.
That this has become a very powerful tool, to keep an eye on many of them. So, so depending on what party it is, right? If it's the left, they want that power so that they can keep, an eye on the opposition, on the political opposition.
Right.
If it's the right, they want those tools so that they can keep an eye on the, foreigners in our country and those that might mean us harm. And while I can understand at least that reason,
Yep.
it is unconstitutional, period.
Right.
And I don't see any motivation whatsoever for them to get rid of these tools. I mean, look, Congress has had the opportunity to not fund or extend Section 702, but they keep doing it. Why? Because they're being pulled into meetings and told, you can't get rid of this because look, it saved this bombing from happening, and that we will never know about. And who knows if what they're even telling is the truth? I mean, we don't, right? Because it's never been brought out to the public.
And just for our listeners, Nate, what is Section 702?
Section 702 is under FISA.
Section 702 of what?
Of FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. It was created after 9/11, and it allowed and I'm giving a very simplistic view of it.
Yes,
basically, it allowed for our government to collect data on any foreigner, or even American citizen that might be overseas. It allowed for data to be collected and unmasked if you could tie it to a foreign asset or foreign threat. And 702 in particular has to do with our digital data. So they basically collect all of this data from all these companies. So Google, Facebook, Twitter, or now X, and all of the telephone companies, all of the internet service providers, they're collecting data on everybody. So they know who's talking to who and what they're saying, but they don't know who and they don't know what they're saying. They just know that there was an interaction. And all of that information is masked. So they have to go in and do a request to unmask it, but there's no warrant needed. It doesn't have to go before a judge. It just has to be, you just have to show essentially like probable cause that it's tied to a foreign threat. And once you do that, then you unmask. Now, if you unmask and turns out to be an American, oopsies, we violated the Fourth Amendment, so we have to delete that information, But this is what we know is that they haven't been doing that, right? They've unmasked things. They've done what's called reverse targeting, which is where they know that you as a doctor had a conversation with, somebody overseas.
Right.
So what they do is they make up some bogus crap about that person overseas so they can make their way back to being able to look at your stuff.
Oh, I see. Wow. So as a security guy, what can the average person do to help in some way retain at least some sliver?
Aside from get rid of well, for one, the smartphone is probably the and I have one myself. So you either have to accept the fact that you are always being listened to, always. Right. Don't ever think that you're having a private conversation. Not even if you're on your phone. If you are even within earshot of your phone or somebody else's phone, you are being listened to. I actually did a test of this. This was years ago, back in, I think this was probably 2020.
Yeah.
I did this. I put a sniffer, a packet sniffer on my phone.
What's that?
It is something that basically captures all of the data stream that's going outside of your phone. So I wanted to capture everything
somewhere else.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so what it does is it passes it through like an intermediary so that it's able to capture that information. And so you can see what's going out of your phone. And I found that bits and pieces of conversations that I was having throughout the day, my microphone on my phone was being turned on.
Hmm.
and it was capturing that and sending it to somewhere.
Wow.
In this case, the service that was being used to do this was Facebook Messenger,
Oh.
Facebook services that was running in the background, and it was doing this kind of capture. Now, um, I put out a long, thread on this on Twitter,
Okay.
and with all of my published findings and all of that. And somebody
Right.
reached out to me and told me it's worse than I even realized. That
Really?
the voice recognition software is so good, and this was, like I said, back in 2020. They
Oh.
said that they don't even need your phone to be with you. That
Really?
they can know that your phone is in your car because you parked at like some, bar and left
Right.
your phone in the car. But you could be sitting at the bar having a conversation with somebody, and their phone picks up your voice and knows by proximity that that's you, and it will collect on you without you even, having your phone with you. Somebody else's phone
Wow.
can. So I
Wow.
tested that and proved it. And that is
Wow.
absolutely the truth.
So do you have like a regular smartphone, or is it a special type of?
I have a regular smartphone. I do, okay, for one, if I want to have a conversation that I don't want the whole world knowing about,
Right?
I put my phone in a Faraday bag.
Yeah.
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 And if I, and then there's just some basic things that you can do. Like I do use a VPN almost all the time on my phone.
Sure. Sure.
I don't want, I want to make it, I don't want to make it easy,
Are there some
Um,
phones that are more secure or private than others, or are they all the same?
Yeah, actually, so if you have a landline, that's actually pretty dang secure. And
Oh.
and the reason is because as long as it's not a digital
Right?
connection, if it is a, like a straight up POTS,
Analog.
what they call POTS line, analog line,
Hmm.
the requirement to actually tap that requires a federal judge. So they
Wow.
cannot, just listen in on your
Hmm.
landline at your house. You could always, there's things that you can do, to kind of minimize. But at the end of the day, like I remember talking to, another famous whistleblower, um, who was an NSA whistleblower, and I remember talking with him, and I was like, hey, do you use Signal? And because Signal's an app that will encrypt end to end.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I don't use it. He goes, I use a flip phone. And I go, really?
Oh.
And he goes, no. He says, I want them to know what I think about them. So, so it's all about perspective. I think the most important thing is it's just honestly, look, we can't get away from this because there are valuable tools that this gives me, right? I mean, who knows how to read a Thomas guide anymore, right? We all use GPS on our phones, right? There's a lot of things that a phone is going to give you an advantage of if it's a smartphone, but you just have to live your life realizing that your smartphone
Yeah.
is listening all the time. So
Wow.
if you're laying in, so if you need an alarm to wake you up at night,
Right?
you're better off having a standalone alarm
Right.
and keeping your phone out of your bedroom, because otherwise they're listening to your most intimate conversations with you and your spouse.
Wow.
So, and that's the reality.
Wow. Okay. So there's no like fancy techie things to do. It's more
There
VPN.
there are
Faraday
some
bag.
phones that have gone to the trouble. There's some people who make phones where they've gone to the trouble of like, and they can only do this with Android phones, where they basically strip out all the bloatware and they've done some hardened security stuff to it. But
Right.
I don't even know how much I trust that, because the thing is at some point you're going to download an update, right? You're going to update something.
Right. Right.
So unless that every update that comes through there, I have to assume that the government has made some back alley deal with that software vendor to put some sort of listening thing in there.
Wow. Amazing. Huh. That's incredible. Okay. Okay. So, we have this world uncertainty, how things are going to go. I think, a lot of the guests we've had on over the years have talked a lot about decentralizing one's life so that you're very community centered, very locally sourced, so to speak, knowing who your tribe is nearby, that the resilience isn't in the system, but in your local connections, who are folks who are like-minded, who are near you. If stuff gets weird, you have your local community that has inherent resilience. Somebody knows how to
Yep.
fix this, somebody knows how to do that, somebody, so that you have your local community. What are some?
I've started collecting books, like hard paper books,
Hmm,
in the event that there were some sort of EMP,
right.
or nowadays, to be honest with you, I think the likelihood of an EMP is probably fairly low,
Oh,
but the likelihood of an AI driven attack that could wipe
oh,
out our power grid is, I
oh,
would say, a very real possibility. I just wrote an
oh,
op-ed on this, in fact.
huh.
We've been reading about and hearing stories about AI breaking out of the constraints of a sandbox
Hmm.
that where they were doing testing, and it hacked into other companies. This happened with
Wow.
Meta. It happened with OpenAI just in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
And um, there's no rules in place right now that say that kind of testing. So it's kind of ties in with the whole world of medicine. So you think
Right.
about, like, everybody knows what gain of function testing is.
Sure.
So
Making it
imagine
more lethal to
gain of
people.
that's right. So imagine gain of function testing, but being done with cyber security weapons.
Hmm.
So if they're testing tools in an environment that's supposed to be safe, and it gets out and it hacks into, these are autonomous tools, and it
Hmm.
hacks it on its own into our national critical infrastructure, the
Right.
damage could be very severe. And
Oh,
so I have been preparing for some time. I've got plenty of, arms on the back of my wall here.
sure. Yeah. Well,
I've got everything I need, to survive the apocalypse. I jokingly say, but mostly importantly is I've cataloged every plant that grows on my property.
oh,
I know what is useful for various things, for medicine, what
hmm.
is not, what's poisonous, what is useful for foraging. Those are
Hmm.
things that, like, to me, give me a lot of peace of mind, at least to know that, hey, and more important than anything, to what your point was, getting to know your neighbors,
Right.
making good relationships with your neighbors, so that in the event of some emergency,
Right.
you have somebody you can count on, you can reach out to.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So, yeah, a friend of mine just published a book on AI, and just the next 10, 30 years, just sort of speculating.
Hmm.
And he said we're 2 or 3 years from AGI, of
Yeah.
artificial general intelligence, which I'm not entirely sure I know what that means, but it's some other level that will
Yeah.
require like treaties between
We're already there. We need those
oh,
treaties now.
oh,
Yeah. So the here's the thing: we're already moving in the world of what they call frontier AI, which is basically AI that's able to think for itself and
hmm,
able to to test and go back to the drawing board and try a different approach. So this is
iterate.
like, yeah. So it's able to to basically rewrite itself in a way, and find new ways and novel ways of approaching a problem.
Hmm,
In some ways, that's a good thing, right? This is the kind of stuff that's going to get us to finding novel cures for diseases that we've never been
sure.
able to solve. But it's also extremely, I mean, it's like nuclear weapons. I mean, really,
Hmm,
anybody who has access to a data center, or access to AI chips, is going to be able to do this kind of stuff.
hmm,
And not everybody's going to have noble purposes. We've had, in the last month, there have been multiple, I think over a dozen attacks on water treatment plants in the U.S. by the Iranians.
hmm,
I wrote an article about that, and how the Iranians are very quickly finding out that they are never going to get a nuclear weapon. What is the
hmm.
next best thing? Cyber warfare. And
Oh,
it's much easier to do, and much easier to hide, much easier to to provide false attribution.
hmm,
It's attribution is very difficult, right?
hmm,
There's this, I guess, you could say, a mythology that
hmm.
you can figure out who launched an attack, cyber attack.
Right.
And for somebody who's been in the industry that actually went after bad guys hacking our national critical infrastructure, it is
Right.
extremely difficult to prove attribution, almost
Oh,
impossible, because
wow.
nobody attacks another country, especially a state-sponsored attack.
Right.
Nobody does that from their country. They basically hack into another
Oh.
country and launch it from there, or they
Oh.
they log into a university that's insecure, and then they hop multiple times before they launch their attack.
Hmm. So it seems like with the Iran thing, like nothing's going to change if the Islamic regime remains in power,
That's right.
right? So I mean, I was thinking and hoping, and I'm getting a
No,
little
they're
less
not gonna
hopeful.
they're not gonna negotiate. Any negotiating attempts that they make are gonna be, stall tactics. And
Right,
while I am not, I don't want to see a, continuation of war or anything like
right.
that. At the end of the day, I think that we have to finish the job.
Yeah.
You know,
But I'm just surprised that we haven't just had like a healthy regime change where elections, monitored elections where the people who hate the
yeah,
government largely were allowed to elect their own person that they elect, whether it's the Shah's son or whoever. I'm just surprised that hasn't happened
yeah,
because it's not going to change long cycle if these ultra
yeah.
violent destroy America, destroy the West regime is in place, regardless of who's the leader. We've blown up several layers of
Right.
leadership, but it doesn't really matter.
No,
Um,
and this is the problem is that, and anybody who's ever, really studied military doctrine understands this, that you can't win a war through just bombing them out of existence. It
right.
has to be boots on the ground at some point. And there's just
Oh,
not the will, I don't think, of the American people for that to happen. So this
right.
is going to continue to happen the way it's happening. And it's going to drag on until there's the will for the American people to put boots on the ground. I think that's ultimately
Oh,
what it's going to take. And,
so is that the
maybe
only? Yeah, go ahead.
maybe the citizens of Iran could rise up,
Right.
but that kind of operation takes training. It takes getting arms smuggled into the country. It's
Right.
not a quick thing, and we've already
Oh,
found that there were some things that came out where arms were given to the Kurds with the intent of them getting to the Iranian people, and they were stolen and things like that. So
oh.
yeah, I've got to wrap things up on my end though, but I've got another meeting I got to jump
Yeah,
to.
of course, of course. Any
But
final
I would love to
thoughts?
come on again. So.
Oh, I enjoyed that, Nate, and same with your show as well. So tell us where folks can find out more about you, follow your work. What's the best way for folks to do that?
So right now, folks can check me out on AmericaOutloud.news. And like I said, I host the Tuesday show with Unleash the Political News Hour. But I'm also on X, and
So
they
is
can
it is
follow.
this the best? I'm going to put this on the
That's
screen.
probably the best way for people to reach out to me, and
Okay,
is that way.
and
I do have a
then
couple of shows that I'm going to be launching. I had one show called the Raising Cane Show. I took it
yes.
off air for a while. It is going to come back, but we're
Oh, okay.
revamping it, and we're going to rebrand it and come back, and then we're going to be launching another show called the Evidence Protocol as well. So
Oh, great.
yeah, hope to have those out by September,
Yeah.
but we'll see where things go.
So Nate, is the interview we did on your show, is that out yet?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'll send you the link. In fact.
Is it here on the Unleashed? Like, can we?
Yeah. If you scroll down a little bit, associated articles and
Yep.
podcasts, it should be
Yep.
one of those.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll look for it. That's great.
I think it would probably be the
Okay,
last one.
probably the last one. Okay. Okay, I'll take a look.
All right.
That's great. Any final thoughts to feel complete for today, Nate?
There's a lot of things to be afraid of, but I would just remind people, look, put your faith in God.
Hmm.
All of the stuff that we're going through in this life, eventually,
Yes.
it's not, none of it's going to matter. So
Yes.
make
Yes.
sure that you're preparing yourself for the next life.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, that's one of our themes here is God wins,
Amen.
much greater than the powers that seek to destroy.
That's right.
Yeah. Nate Kane, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
ongoing work, your courage, and for your time today.
Thank you. God bless.
Bless you too. Excellent. Wow. Just fabulous. And wow, just so much there. And I could certainly see a lot more to discuss. We didn't quite get into, and maybe when he comes back to the show, we'll talk about. He was very interested in talking about preparation and preparedness and natural remedies, and it's just been an interest of his for quite some time. So we'll have a chance to have him back. But wow, really great insights from Nate Kane. So I'm just going to look at questions here that came in comments. We've got some activity on our watch page and also in our Zoom chat. So just going to be checking that. Nate, I believe, is in West Virginia. He ran for elected office in 2024 and in West Virginia. So that I assume he's still there because he did run for Congress in West Virginia. So yeah, I'm with you, Amy. I was aware of that. This flu vaccine requirement is just insane. Easily, before the before the genocide jab was released after decades of preparation. So before the COVID shots were released, the flu shots were the biggest source of VAERS vaccine adverse events reporting system complaints or adverse event reporting was on the flu shot. Really devastating type of vaccine. And unfortunately, as we've spoken about with earlier guests, the mRNA platform has become sort of the darling of the drug industry, where they want to use the mRNA platform to develop, everything being shifted over to mRNA style injections. They're doing this with animals. Nick Hulscher just reporting on this the last week about the veterinary vaccines being mRNA based. And they're really trying to shift the vaccine industry over to this new platform. Very different from the traditional antigen with adjuvant style, where a bit of a synthetic antigen is given with an immune amplifier, an adjuvant, putting the immune system in a state of chronic stimulation, which, by the way, is the context where immunological tolerance breaks down and autoimmune diseases are much more likely, is when the immune system is in a state of constant stimulation. We call this Schoenfeld syndrome, or ASIA, autoimmune inflammatory syndrome induced by vaccine adjuvants. So this is a big concern. So this is, thanks for that, Amy. This is a big concern. And I was, just happy to learn that, there are still protections in place in the military for folks who want to conscientiously object. It takes some courage to do that because you're disobeying an order, but there are avenues for sure. Yeah, Todd Callender, yeah, for sure. That was a huge win. Yeah. Faraday bag, yeah, I'm not sure, Amy. I have one from, oh boy, I forgot who made it, but there are several available. My guess is they all, probably do something good. So that, yeah, there you go. Oh, good. Thank you, Amy, for the site on the current war. Amy on Mike Locke, that's a good one. That sounds like very promising. Don Shen for fractures. Yeah. So, yeah, we do have some evidence in the literature on the use for that. And let me see if I can quickly find that research when I was creating the Don Shen course, which I would certainly recommend. It's quite good. You'll know more about this herb than most health professionals with this course all about one herb. Just like this weekend, I'm going to do a very deep dive on one herb, Boswellia serrata, which is ancient resin or sacred resin, modern medicine is the name of that presentation on Boswellia serrata. But I just want to make sure you have the course on Don Shen. We don't get into the fractures too much on this. You can also use your MWM discount code for this course. It's very good. And you have Nate Kane's info there, by the way. And so let me just do a quick lit review here just to see what's been published. And I'll use the botanical name and we'll do it together. This is what I do every day when, just kind of looking at the medical literature on stuff, or at least, several ways to do it. This is just a very quick, simple, there's deeper ways to do deeper dives. But let's look at Salvia miltiorhiza and fracture. Let's just look at that. Let's see. Okay. Oh, there you go. So we do have, let me give you this link, and then you can look it up yourself. I'll put this in the meeting chat. And then also on the watch page, you can just click on it. And let me get this into the chat now. Oh, there it is. Okay. And then watch page is next. And there it is. So let's just look at this together and see what we have. Looks like there are, let's take out the citations. Yeah, looks like there's 2,000 papers just on this herb and fractures. So let's look at a couple of them and see what just a little teeny bit of the literature has to say. My guess is that it would partly have to do, that's osteoporosis. Okay. So it looks like, yeah, that's osteoporosis. It looks like this would be helpful in osteoporosis. So my guess is one of the mechanisms, because the Danshan is so good at improving microcirculation, that's what the Beamer does better than any intervention on Earth, that on the herbal side, this is one of the best microcirculatory herbs. So this came out in 2014. This was in BMC. It's a British medical journal, I believe. Not BMJ, but it's a journal there. So let's see. Long bones healing. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. All right, so our results suggest that this herb and a compound in the herb may accelerate early stage fracture healing, increased activity. I guess that's alkaline phosphatase. It's a good bone marker. So there you go. So there's one study all through that link. And let's see what else we have on this subject. Here's another one. SAL-A, salvinolic acid A, promotes bone fracture healing. Okay. So there you go. Let's see what they found here. Okay, in a fracture model, this herb demonstrated a capacity to promote healing. In conclusion, SAL-A enhances bone fracture healing by balancing osteoblast and osteoclast. So osteoblast, bone formation, osteoclast, clearing old bone cells, seems to support that balance. And then, this is behind a paywall. So it looks like we have at least some evidence in experimental models that this would be a very useful herb in bone fracture. And bone healing, and I really encourage folks to attend this Wednesday. I'll give you the link. I'm speaking this Wednesday, and it's a free public lecture on microcirculation and musculoskeletal, including fracture, so muscle, tendon, ligament, bone, fascia, all of that healing. If you just click on this link, this will be this Wednesday, I believe. Let me get the time. I think it's 6 p.m. Mountain, which would be 8 p.m. Eastern. This Wednesday, the 12th, is going to be a great presentation, if I do say so myself, on the importance of microcirculation and musculoskeletal health. So it's called a Perfusion and Performance this Wednesday. Just click on that link at that time. And boy, oh boy, it's a great I mean, I've been working on it for weeks, and it's a very good presentation. So this is going to be, we're also going to tie this into the BEMER device, which is the most effective intervention of any kind on Earth, anywhere, natural, pharmaceutical, anything, for dramatically improving microvascular circulation. And, oh, that link doesn't work. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's got too many W's. My bad. It only should be 2 W's. Let me fix that for you. That would do it. Okay, here's a better link for you. Sorry. Thanks for checking that. And again, this isn't a registration page. It's just a direct Zoom link that will only be relevant at that time. So let's try this one, Donna. Give that a go. But this device is remarkable, just as a home care medical device. And I also use it in the clinic. It's just so effective. So we teach, our group teaches weekly classes that are free. And our monthly Science and Solutions is going to be on the brain this month on August 27th. And so if you click here, you'll see the weekly class schedule. And this is about human and animal health, dogs, cats, horses. But there's a dog unit, horse unit. Dog unit will become available 5 days from now, which is great. But we have these classes every week, sometimes twice a week. This month is the vascular mind, microcirculation, and the nervous system. Next month is going to be immune, then respiratory, then skin, then urinary. So we're covering all 12 body systems this year rather. Then there is the Science and Solutions classes, which happen every month, which are pretty fabulous. And they're really good, interactive. And then I put together with Lori a 14-lesson technical course that you can sign up for free. And you also get the research compilation of 74 studies now, an educational page for non-practitioners is here, and then also the medical fact sheet, which I just revised recently. And then there's studies here on the importance of microcirculation, a wonderful video where you can see dramatically what changes. So my suggestion is get one of these devices for home use for you and your family. It's 8 minutes twice a day. Here's how you get one. Just contact my colleague Cynthia, and all the information is here on this page. And it's impressive. Patients have been absolutely delighted. They just feel better. Just recently, a patient came in and working with for a little less than a year. He had pretty severe Parkinson's disease. And he came in his last visit a couple of weeks ago. He said, it's gone. There's no more Parkinson's disease. I no longer have Parkinson's disease. And he got about 70% better without using this device. So using acupuncture, herbs, nutrition, diet change, detoxification. But it was still pretty concerning, that last 30% was still there. And he came in, got the BEMER to use at home, and now the Parkinson's is gone. And he's more relaxed, he's more calm, he has more energy, he has less stress. And you just see this difference here. And in blood flow, it was very stagnant in this particular patient. And now after just 2 minutes, the blood is starting to move, as you can see. Big change. And then after 6 minutes or so, now you really see the blood starting to move. It's not as not nearly as stagnant, and the blood flow through the arterial and on the left, the venule on the right, and the capillary on the far left. And now this is dramatically improved. This is after 8 minutes, and that's all it is. These are medium settings, not even high settings. Look at the blood flow. Just flying now through the microcirculation in this healthy 37-year-old guy. No disease. He was just stressed. Athletic guy. Look how stagnant this blood flow is. Total stagnation. Hardly any oxygen, nutrients, or hormones. And this is 8 minutes later. And we also know from other studies, this is a sustained improvement. So when you improve blood flow that well, your fractures are going to heal faster. You're going to have better athletic and physical performance, mental performance, more energy, better mitochondrial function. Everything improves when blood flow is optimized. So anyway, that's partly what Danshin does as another daily intervention. That's what the Danshin does. So my suggestions, folks, is connect with your local like-minded health freedom, natural health community. And there are state and local chapters of a variety of organizations, NVIC, Children's Health Defense, Weston Price, so many organizations that are just locally oriented. The Catherine Austin Fitts at Solari Report has really done a great job of helping people decentralize their whole life. And I'll give you Catherine's website here, solari.com. Really quite wonderful. But anyway, there's lots of ways to connect with like-minded people locally, so that there's resilience inherent in local connections, and that's really the point, is to cultivate those local connections. So I think we've done it for today. I think that's all the questions we had. I'm going to play the piano for you. A little Boz Scaggs today. Heart of Mine is a great song of his from the 90s, and a really good one. So Boz Scaggs, Heart of Mine. And I'm going to play that for you as we close our time today. And thanks for being here, everybody. Blessings to you and yours. We've got, oh, by the way, don't want to forget, we've got a wonderful slate of guests coming up. Really delighted to be, I'm just going to give you the link. And thanks for those who've been making contribution monthly or one time to help support the show. You can also support the show by scheduling a consultation at michaelgaita.com. Everybody should do that at least once a year to do a full, complete functional medicine checkup. And then also purchasing a course is another great way to support the show. So please do. And just want to give you just a preview of who's coming up. We've got an amazing slate of guests. We've got our new show page image with some of our past guests. Some amazing people have been on the show over the last 7 years. And by the way, we now have, make sure you subscribe for the weekly email. We have an expanded, we have about almost 200 shows now in the archive. We have a Spotify channel with some shows. We've got a YouTube channel coming soon to Apple Podcasts. All of that is on our watch page. And who's coming up next week? We had Sanjay Kumar, who was the victim of medical lawfare, which began in the Biden regime and unfortunately has continued. I think this is an example of some of these deep state actors who just do their own thing. And they have sentenced him to 20 years in prison for no material wrongdoing. And you can look at that show with Dr. Kumar. Another physician who has become the subject of medical lawfare is Dr. Ron Elfenbein. And he's going to be on the show next week and talking about how he has been persecuted for refusing during COVID to recommend the genocide jab, and based on evidence, and for recommending things other than the genocide jab, the murder weapon, to people, such as monoclonal antibodies, for example. So he's going to be telling his story, which is ongoing. They dropped all charges and then revived them, which is insane. So he's going to tell his story next week, and specific things that you can do to help preserve informed consent and medical freedom. And then, speaking of local food, the John Clark is going to be on in 2 weeks talking about small family farms. It's going to be great. And then we have a friend of mine, Mariah Mellon, is going to be coming up. She's a midwife and is going to be talking about rebuilding a human health ecosystem, birth, death, and the web of life. Then returning to the show, one of our faculty members here at the school, the thyroid pharmacist, Isabella Wentz, is going to come on, talking about a new subject that she hasn't talked about on the show, IBS. Then we have the wonderful health freedom physician, Renata Moon, pediatrician who's broken ranks on the greatest source of childhood illness, vaccines. She's going to be talking about that. And then a health freedom hero, brilliant lady, Leslie Manoukian, is going to be on at the end of September on health freedom. And then we have other folks who we just need to schedule. A lot of other folks, actually. We're just in the process of scheduling. And I think you'll be pleased. We have some pretty remarkable folks who you'll see on the schedule before too long. And then thanks for those who have been supporting the show with a donation of any amount, some one time, some monthly, which really helps us out to keep the show going for you free every week. We have a MeWe group on Mondays with Michael MeWe group. We have our Awake page. And please check out the first 2 chapters of my upcoming book on Chinese wormwood. And I've also got a free course on black human seed. Please take advantage of that too. It's an amazing herb, and you'll learn a lot about that. And then we've got lots, all of our past guests, or most of them, are here indexed, many of them anyway, in our show page. And then we've cataloged the 2026 shows here for you as well. And so you can see past shows. And if you click on See Past Shows, you'll see our archive of 192 shows are all here. So please take advantage of that. We've got some amazing guests. If you missed any shows, we've got most of them, not all of them, but most of them. We're working on it, archived here in the archive. So please take advantage of that. And thank you. Blessings to you and yours. Remember, the power of light to heal and restore freedom is and maintain it is much greater than the power of darkness to destroy. So, or as we simply say, God wins. Light prevails always, always has, always will. Light always prevails regardless of the darkness. So make sure your faith is in that and not in the power of darkness to destroy. Have your faith in the power of God, the power of life, of divinity, of spirit, whatever words you want to use, is far greater than all the forces of darkness that seek to injure and maim and create misery, suffering, and death. The power that creates life and health and freedom is far greater than all of that. So make sure you have your faith in that, as Nate said in his closing thoughts. So with that, I'm going to share with you a really cool song, Heart of Mine, from Boz Scaggs from the 90s, one of my favorites, and enjoy. So thanks, everybody. Blessings to you and yours. I just got to get my settings fixed to do this to make sure it sounds and looks good. And there it is. Okay, great. And I think that was everything. If you're in the Colorado area, come join us here on Saturday. Contact us on the website if you'd like more details about that. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for being here. Blessings to you and yours. And we'll see you next week. Oh, and lots more piano music on the website under Watch. In our video library on that michaelgata.com, under Watch, you'll see video library. Lots of piano music there if you like. Okay. Good. I think that's good. Okay. And we'll see you Saturday and Friday for Herbal Summer School. This Friday and Saturday, Herbal Summer School. It's going to be great, and we'll see you there. Here it is. This is Boz Scaggs, sorry, 1985. 1985. Good one. Written by Jason Sheff of Chicago, Dennis Petoskey, and Bobby Caldwell as well. Boz Scaggs, Heart of Mine, 1985. Okay. Very good. Well, thanks again for being with us today, folks. Have a wonderful week. Blessings to you and yours. We'll see you this Friday and Saturday for Herbal Summer School, and also see you this Wednesday for a free lecture on microcirculation and musculoskeletal health. So athletic performance, repair, recovery, and all the good things. All right.